Your first million is about the right people that you surround yourself with and kind of just mirroring that. Everyone talks about R&D, the research and develop. We're not in the world of research and develop anymore. We're in the world of rip off and duplicate. Like there's so many great people out there that have already done great things, especially in this space in wholesaling. Your first million shouldn't be that painful if you just find the right person and just mirror them. It's little to do with the process and system. It's more to do with the imperfect action and overcoming your fears. And you'll see that you can get to your first million pretty dang quick.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll. I'm here with Cody Hofhine. What's going on, Cody?
Oh, man, it's a good day. Whenever I can do a podcast, I love podcasts. These are great. So, Brian, I'm grateful to be here and looking forward to see how I can add value to the group.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. So I haven't seen you since 2 years ago. I think we were at Mike Hambright had an event we were talking at, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Was it what is that? Fuel.
Yeah,
Investor Fuel.
Yep. Yeah. So it's cool. So Cody, you've been up to a lot of different stuff. You're with Joe Homebuyer now. Actually, let's do this. Tell everybody what you do and how you even got into this space. We'll start there.
Holy smokes. Let's go there. Yeah. Okay. So, let me give a little backstory that kind of carries me into today. So I've always had entrepreneurial blood. I worked for my dad my whole entire life. He was a general contractor, so he did a lot of commercial stuff. So he built a lot of the big buildings out here in Utah and some of the surrounding states as well. One of his clients was a large furniture company called RC Willey that was sold to Warren Buffett in '98. So some fun stuff that I got to do as a young kid. I worked with him all the way up to about '09 when the Great Recession hit for a lot of people. And in the commercial space, it hit hard. My dad lost a lot of his business right overnight. And so that led me to go find a job. My mom and dad, they wanted to keep paying me. They're just kind people, like any mom and dad. But they're like, no, we'll weather this. Let's just keep you on the payroll. I'm like, I'm not draining your bank account while you guys have no income coming in. So I went and sold vinyl fencing of all things. Did that for a year. Met a gentleman named Mark Stubler, who is now my business partner. So there's some little connections on how all this stuff lines up. And then ultimately, after a year of that, I left to do insurance. Now, selling insurance brought up two things. You need a lot of time to make good money. It's a game of stacking BBs. It's just a long game. And then the second thing is it was nothing I could get really passionate about. It's so hard to sell home, auto, life insurance with a smile on your face because you're buying air. You just hope something's there when something happens, but really there's nothing nothing tangible you're selling. So it was hard to get passionate about it. But quickly into it, my first year I only made $19,000. Super, super rough. It was so hard. I had two kids, one on the way at the time. 19,000 doesn't add up. I get it. And then I came home early from work one day, and this is 2015. So this is now 5 years into insurance. And there were still some months that were just hard months. They were just slow months. So I come home, my wife's crying at the table and she's wondering, do we put food on the table or do we pay the mortgage with the remaining number that we have in our bank account? And I'm like, how do we do both? How do we get both of these done? But what's interesting is during those 5 years, 2010, 2015, I was religiously going to real estate investor meetings, just the RIA group, Real Estate Investor Association, local group here in Utah. I went every single month, and I never went to listen about real estate. I went to listen to someone who said, I have 4 rentals. And I'm like, oh, there's 4 policies. I'm going to go talk to them and sell them insurance. I never cared in 5 years to listen to real estate. But when I came home and I saw my wife crying that day, that's I've got to do something different. This isn't working. I'm working a blueprint, but the blueprint's just not working. So a couple days later, I'm at that same RIA group that I've been going to for 5 years. A gentleman stands up and he says, hey, I just found this deal. And 3 days later, I wholesaled it to someone. I made $29,000. I'm like, come again? What? What is this magic you talk of? And so I went and talked to him afterwards and he's like, yeah, wholesaling. You just got to do ABCDD. He just kind of did a little overview of what you do. 39 days from that conversation, I went out and I found my first deal and it paid me 24 grand. And from there, it was like this works. Not only does it work for this guy that taught it, it worked for Cody Hofhine. That was more money I've ever seen in one hit in my whole entire life. It was incredible. So quickly started scaling that. I brought Mark over, who I'd met at Vinyl Fencing. We'd stayed tight as friends. I brought him over. I said, dude, you got to try this. He goes out and tries it and does the same thing. Shortly after, does a deal. 2016, we partner. And our first year, we do a little over $1 million. And everyone's like, who are these young punks coming into like our market that we've been doing for 10 years? And these guys are just making it happen. Into 2016, I co-found Wholesaling Inc. with Tom Kroll. We blow up one of the most known coaching programs in the nation at the time, and probably one of the more known podcasts besides like Bigger Pockets out there in the real estate space. And so we blew this thing up. We were coaching 3,500 students nationwide. It was an awesome opportunity. It was a great thing. But there was very few people that didn't know we'd teach them how to do their first deal, but there's very few that knew how to scale. So me and Mark developed a program called Scale. They'd come out to our office because we were actually scaling our business. We wanted to be like, do this not just to make a couple $100,000, like we want to do a couple millions in revenue every year. And so we do that, get it going. And I end up parting ways with Wholesaling Inc. I sold my interest in 2020. Because in 2019, we started Joe Homebuyer, which was a franchise where people could tap into the blueprint that would allow them to scale to $1 million business. And it's something we've just been super passionate about. Fast forward to today, we have about 95 franchisees across the nation, and it's just been a blast. So I hope that catches a little bit of the history as fast as I can to where I am today.
No, that's good, man. Yeah, because I think it's always interesting too. Because everyone listening and just people I talk to are like, oh yeah, you guys are crushing it. Things like people just see people that are crushing it, and they don't realize you had to go through the suck.
Oh my goodness, it's a lot of it.
Yeah,
we still go through it.
Yeah, so it's like anyone listening now too. It's like if you're going through the suck, just keep going. Because if you don't quit, you're gonna get there.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I always tell people, pick your suck, because you can go back to your comfortable job. And then when you're 65, 70 years old and you still don't have enough money to retire, it's going to suck. So it's like, pick your suck, like the one that's up front or the one that's in the end where you still don't have enough.
Right. Yeah. Did you ever see the Jerry Seinfeld skit where he's talking about like nighttime me and morning me?
No, I'm sure I have, but it doesn't sound familiar, but I loved Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. It just made me think of it because he talks about it with eating and stuff. He's like, you know what? Morning me hates nighttime me. It's like he stays up, he parties, they're not going to deal with it. And it's the same thing like in life. It's like your 30-year-old you, is your 65-year-old you going to like you? Or is he like, dude, you really screwed me up, you know? So
that's a good analogy. That's actually probably one of the better analogies I've heard.
Yeah, because it's like you look back, you're like, okay, you can put in work an hour later, you know?
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right, cool. So you guys, and I like this. Thing I like about Joe Homebuyer is too, a lot of people are out there trying to teach or help people that don't actually do it or didn't actually do it. So it's like, okay, I'm going to hypothetically learn how to wholesale and tell other people how to do it versus I actually did it. So I know all the mistakes, well, not all the mistakes, but I've made a lot of the mistakes and I can actually pass them to help other people avoid mistakes. So that's what I like about you guys, because you guys were actually in the business also. And then you're just passing along some of the information that you paid with sweat to learn. Yeah, no, that's 100% true. Like, for my own personal philosophy, and this probably, it sounds like it lines pretty similar to yours, is I'm only going to take advice from people I'm willing to trade places with, right? So if I want to be a millionaire, for example, I'm not going to go to a Walmart bagger and say, hey, teach me how to become a millionaire, right? It's not going to add up for me, at least. And maybe some people will get inspired by it. Maybe they'll still make $1 million, but likelihood is probably not. It's just not going to happen. And it's very to the opposite. The same thing. I'm very protective of my mindset. So I only talk to people that if I'm looking for advice, I'm only talking to people, right? The same people that I want to trade places with, but I also won't talk to people that aren't in those places, meaning they can ruin that mindset. They can ruin that drive. They're the ones that get people to go back to comfort. They're the ones that keep you fearful. Those are the ones that get you to not act in your best self because they're like, oh, million. Oh yeah, that's tough. You don't want to do that. Like, just enjoy life. Life's short. You don't want to work that hard. I mean, you're just going to eat and sleep, like business all day long. And if you heard that, you'd be like, oh yeah, maybe I don't want to do that. The sad thing is it's not true. And they don't even actually know it. They're just saying it because they're fearful themselves to even act upon the dreams that they want to act on. So it's very, very crucial to always take advice from someone that you're willing to trade places with. And I would be very hypocritical if I didn't have
multiple $1 million coming in through my business, trying to teach people at Joe Homebuyer how to do the exact same thing. And the beauty is it's because we messed up so much, Brian. Like we've made so many mistakes. It's painful. It's painful. Like growth is not easy. But I will tell you, it's been a huge blessing. And I'm the type of person that when something works, I love sharing it. Like Mark Stubler, half of his wardrobe is because I come in, I'm like, dude, you got to try these shirts or you got to try these pants. And all of a sudden the next day he has that shirt on or he has those pants on. And I'm like, man, I need to set up an affiliate with all this stuff that I love in life because I'm happy about anything that I love. I share it with the world because I just one of those guys.
Yeah. And that's a good way too. You're a giver, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? That's important too, because you're talking about who you want to be like, but also the people you surround yourself with, like you're going to turn into them. So if they are negative, it's like, hey, just chill out while you're working so hard. If you surround yourself and hear that so many times, you're like, you know what? Maybe I am the oddball and I shouldn't be doing this. Versus if you surround yourself with a bunch of people trying to push, you're going to turn into that too.
100%. I love the quote. It's Jim Rohn. You're the average of the 5 closest individuals you spend the most time with. Who are your 5? Like that's something we should be questioning every single day. I think that quote alone, those words alone are enough to get anyone to their first $1 million. And I sincerely mean that. Your first million isn't so much about the processes and systems. Your first million is about the right people that you surround yourself with and kind of just mirroring that. Everyone talks about R&D, the research and develop. We're not in the world of research and develop anymore. We're in the world of rip off and duplicate. Like there's so many great people out there that have already done great things, especially in this space in wholesaling. Your first million shouldn't be that painful if you just find the right person and just mirror them. It's little to do with the process and system. It's more to do with the imperfect action and overcoming your fears. And you'll see that you can get to your first million pretty dang quick. And then those processes and systems come into place to help dial you in to scale up to multiple millions a year. Yes, I do think there's a process and a system that it makes sense to have those in place. But at first, when you're getting into it, I think so many people overstudy. They try to watch, just YouTube University, and they get stuck in this like zone of study. And it's like, no, right now is all about do. Like your first million is all about do. Just get out there and do. And you can do it imperfectly, learn from it. And at the end of the day, you'll get to $1 million. But from there on, yeah, let's get some right systems. Let's get the right processes in place.
That's so true too. It's like, cause I talk to people a lot too. And yeah, they're always trying to learn. It's like, I need to start a business. I need a logo. I need an LLC. I can't do anything yet because of whatever. It's like hustle will luck you into that first million, like you're talking about. If you go out and work really hard, you'll figure it out and you'll get lucky. And then once you get lucky, then that's the time it's like, okay, let me take a look and see what worked. Let me build some processes and like reverse engineer it or talk with someone like you that already did it. You know what I mean? But yeah, just get out there and start knocking on doors if you need to. Doesn't cost anything.
I don't even know if I had an LLC for like the first 3 or 4 deals I did. Like I didn't even know you needed one. Well, I mean, I knew you need one, but at the same time, I was like, I'll get to it. And I don't even know if I got to it after my first handful of deals. And then I'm like, I'm glad I got this in place. But it's like, people overthink. I need business cards. What? No one looks at business cards. Like when someone says, can I get you a business card? I'm like, no, you can send me your contact. Like, no, I'm not putting that in my pocket. That's one more thing I have to carry around. No thanks.
And then you think about it, how much time went into designing the card? It's like,
it's crazy.
You're spending like all this time. Hey, does this look good? Does this look good? Does this look good? It's like, you could be thinking about other things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's where your focus is, right? The focus should be on the action for your first million. And then, start dialing in. And once you have your consistent habits that are winning habits, then it's like, okay, now let's tighten those up with process and system. But I think if I were to tie it to most people that are stuck in like, let's say 100K, 200K, 300K, let's say 500K a year. Most people that can't see themselves getting up to the million, there's usually 2 things. It's usually a skill set problem or a belief problem. So there's some kind of belief that they caught growing up that they still haven't worked through. And that belief is a limiting belief that's holding them back. Maybe mom and dad never sat down and taught them, hey, we're not going to ever be millionaires. But maybe the son or the daughter caught it because of how they acted. They were there always saying like, oh man, we got to hold on to every penny when it comes in. I got to save and save and save. And we got to lock this in the vault and we got to make sure that we're not spending money. It's like that activity right there is enough to catch, to say, oh, money's scarce. Maybe we shouldn't spend money. Maybe we should just be savers the rest of our lives. And maybe we shouldn't dream big. And maybe we should, like, we got to be on the defense versus the offense. And By catching that, then all of a sudden here they are, grown adults. They're out there growing their business, and they have this belief that's holding them back. Like, oh, I wasn't meant to be a millionaire. My mom and dad weren't millionaires. My grandma and grandpa weren't millionaires. And it's like, okay, how about let's rewrite the story? Like, let's challenge that belief. Let's challenge that belief. And then what is the skill set you lack? Most people, when they're at 500K and they want to get to 1 million, the number one skill set that they lack is delegation. They don't know how to grow a team that then they can delegate and offset some of these things. There's a great book out there called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. He talks about we don't hire people to build our business. We hire people to buy back our time so that we're not doing the $10 an hour stuff, the $15 an hour stuff, the $20 an hour stuff. Like, you're hiring that out so that you're buying back time. So you get that time to go work on the $100 an hour stuff, the $500 an hour stuff, that $1,000 an hour stuff. That's really what this whole concept is about when we're delegating. Is I want these individuals to be able to offload some of these things that are holding me back from learning new skill sets to grow this business to go to 1 million.
Yeah. And you know what? It's really, really good book too. I agree with that one.
Really good.
Same even with the energy audit they got in there too. I think that's where he has that.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. Every 15 minutes, track it.
Yeah. It's like, outline what takes your energy away and what gives you energy. And delegate the stuff that takes your energy away and drains you every day.
Powerful. I think too many times we think in the mindset of building business versus buying back time. And that's powerful. And then there's a point where it's like, okay, I don't need this time so I can go make more money. I need this time so I can just now go hang out with my family, go do what I want to go do, because money's not an issue anymore.
Yeah, okay, so say the guys between 100 and 500,000 that have a problem delegating their time. Why do you think it is?
Okay, this is a great question. I think there's a couple things. I don't know if they think they can, like, oh, why would someone want to lead me? There's a belief problem, right? Like, maybe, oh, like my mom and dad, they always worked for corporate America. They were always told what to do. They never got to lead people or tell people what to do. So I don't even know how to tell. Like, why would someone want to listen to me? That's a belief system. That belief is holding them back. It's a limiting belief. They've got to challenge that. The other thing is just their quality of leadership in general. It's very much tied to the caliber of individual they are. So if they have C players, they're like, oh, I've tried it, I've hired people, and it's just awful. It was just the worst experience. You've got to be willing to look in the mirror and say, I know it's because you're the worst leader. Like, if you can be that blunt to yourself, that's a great thing. Like, a C leader is only going to attract C players. A C leader won't attract B players or A players. They may get convinced that through interview, just like at both sides, like sometimes you're hiring someone, you're like, oh my gosh, this is an A player. And all of a sudden day one, you're like, what the heck? Like, the guy that came yesterday is not the guy that's here today. Like, this guy knows nothing, right? And it's like, maybe it's a C. Same thing. You might convince him you're an A player, but it won't take long, or an A leader, I mean, because it won't take long for them to be like, I'm getting off this boat. This person doesn't know what they're talking about. And when you have C players on your team, realize it's just an outward reflection of inward who you are. So if you want A players on your team, you better become an A leader. Most people lack the skill set to just spend time every single day. There's not many days in my life that go by that I don't spend at least an hour a day being a student, where I am studying. And it's some kind of principle that will help me become a better leader each and every day. I have great mentors in my life that I pay great money to. I have John Maxwell, who me and Mark have now hung out with a couple times. I have Robin Sharma, who's now a dear friend of mine. Dan Martell. All these individuals are in my circle teaching me my leadership so that I'm growing a great business, because I'm becoming someone better, worthy of the individuals that are going to help me build that great business. So that's the big thing. Is it's very little to do about I guess these principles, or I don't have these processes in place. Like that, who cares? There's times where I don't have processes in place, and because of my leadership, I'm able to hire someone on that will help me build out the process, even if the process doesn't exist. But there was times in my life, in Mark's life, that we were attracting C players, and until we looked in the mirror and realized it's because we're C leaders, our business was stuck. It was at a halt. And so we needed to work on ourselves. And at the beginning stages, we're always worried about the deal, the marketing, spending the money and doing this and this. And it's like, okay, how many hours did you spend on development? Well, I don't have time on that right now. Right now, I got to go on appointments. I got to get more deals. I got to get more contracts. And it's like, no, you've got to do the work, because when you become someone better, you're going to attract that same caliber of individual in the future for your business.
Right. So, okay. So 2 things there. Number one, that first person that doesn't think they can become a leader, what do you tell them? It's like, okay, they came up in the family that's always putting money aside or whatever. Or it's like, hey, why would people want to follow me? How do you break that cycle?
Yeah, that is going to be more of a mindset coach than anyone, right? So that is just outdoing that limiting belief. You're going to have to outdo it by just the habit of just consistently now go and learn. It's no different than riding a bike. I look at it no different than this. A little kid can sit there and look at the bike and be scared and cry and say, nope, I can't do this. I can't do this. Nope. Why would I be able to ride a bike? The way we beat fear is with our closeness to it, our proximity to it. So the only way to overcome the fear of riding a bike is you have to hop on the bike. You can't study through it. You can't read through it. You can't do anything other than just hop on the bike. So this is going to be an opportunity for them to know you've got to make a hire, and it can be a virtual assistant, and you got to give them like some little things that can lead and guide them that shows them, hey, look it. That was an easy task, but it's not going to be big ones. It may not be an acquisition manager. It may not be some of these things where they need a great leader to help lead and guide them. But it's like, no, let's start right here. Let's start where it's small. Let's face it with proximity. Let's make your first hire with your least like scary hire out there, a virtual assistant, and let's have a little process for them to follow. And let's have a little accountability of what you're going to do, how you're going to either do a daily huddle with them or you're going to do a weekly call with them. And here's how this agenda is going to go. And through that just consistent nature of getting on the bike, pretty soon you're riding a bike. Just through that consistent nature of reaching out to your virtual assistant. Hey, how was today? How did it go? Okay. Any struggles? Any troubles? Okay. Anything I need to know about? And just by little bit hopping on the bike or doing these little meetings with the virtual assistant, pretty soon you start to build this confidence. This confidence then turns into something where you can start to see a little bit bigger, where you're like, okay, I'm ready for my next hire. I can do this. But you can't just do it by studying it. You can't just do it by reading the book or listening to the YouTube video. There's a point where you just got to jump on the bike and beat it with proximity to it.
Same thing. Don't.
And you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. And then you know what? You can start being a leader and you might be a C leader, but at least you're a leader. And then you get to level up.
That is true. That is exactly right. Like you got to start with what you have. It's okay that you're a C leader. Just understand you're also going to be training some C players on your team. And then as you level up, you start to level up your caliber of individuals, and you can start to do what's called top grading. You probably know this and you have 25 plus doors in your portfolio. There's a point where you may not say like you want 50 doors. Maybe you're like, no, I'm fine with the number 25. I love 25, but this door is now better than my 23rd door. So I'm going to top grade by replacing my 23rd door and putting this in my portfolio, maintain the 25, but I've just improved the quality of that 25. Same exact principle when it comes to our business is you have these C players and you have this team, and then all of a sudden you find as you're developing and getting better, all of a sudden you come across this great player that would be great on your team. And you're like, ooh, that's awesome. I'm going to bring them on and I'm going to top grade or drop out my bottom person and replace it with this top person. And you start to just put your team.
Yep. Really good point. All right. So let's talk about Joe Homebuyer for a minute, right?
Yes.
So you guys you don't work with noobs. You work with the guys, doing like a deal or two a month, and you help them level up their business, right?
Yeah. The beginners, there's so many excellent coaches out there. There's so many great coaches out there that can teach you how to do your first deal. That's not us. Ours is those, like you said, doing a couple deals a month. Maybe they've done a handful of deals. Maybe they've done their 100K in revenue, but they're stuck kind of at that six figures. They don't really know what to do. They don't know how to diversify into different marketing channels. They don't know any of the little like tweaks that will happen in their business, the little systems, the little processes that need to be in place. They don't know how to delegate, like we talked about. They don't know how to raise the team. Those are the things that we are really, really good at. So we tie the process and the system behind all of that. And then more importantly, I think there's something that's really good is the community. I knew it was going to be great, but I would be lying if I didn't undervalue maybe just how great the community is. So these individuals come to us, and it can be a top performing guy. Some of them, we have one doing 2.4 million this year, for example. Does the $2.4 million producer also have off days? Absolutely. Every one of us does, right? And what I learned from him was something that I'll never forget. He says, Cody, here I am doing this, and I had a day where I just didn't want to wake up and do real estate. And he says it happened to be the day that we did our zone call, where we kind of set them up in zones. He's all, we did our zone call, and I had like something said in that meeting that just woke me back up. And I was like so grateful for community, because I did not want to do anything today. And he says, I got off that call so fired up. I went out, talked to my team, and we end up, I think as a result, over the next couple of weeks, they end up getting like a handful of contracts, because he had this clarity. He had this like new fire, this new energy to go out and do it. So community is huge too. So yes, those doing a handful of deals, but they're like, how do I get to $1 million? I want to be a 7-figure business. That's who we're looking for, because we have the blueprint to get you there.
Yeah, and that's really important too, because you're right. There's processes and community. So the process is like going to school. It's like, hey, here's the process. Here, go build this. But the community is really, really important, because it's like different people that are struggling the same way as you are, trying to do the same thing, bouncing ideas off. Hey, I tried this. This didn't work. Hey, might want to try this, or this did work. And you get to talk to people, because sometimes you don't even, like I've learned, if I'm in a community, number one, with smart people, like people that are, I like to be in communities where like I'm the stupid guy, you know,
where I'm the dumbest.
Yeah.
That's a good group to be in.
But it's like when you're in there too, sometimes you don't necessarily even learn something from the community, but the conversation made you think of something and come up with that next idea that crushed it. So it's like just being around those people gets the juices flowing. So true. And it only takes one idea to get you out of the funk. It only takes one idea to get to the next level. That's the other thing that I love about the caliber of individuals we are helping with Joe Homebuyer is they all know that principle. They're not there like saying, oh, I don't get my value because I didn't get 552 things to write down. It's like none of us can act on 552 things. Every one of us have a mindset of what's the one thing I can take away from this meeting? What's the one thing I can take away from this book? What's the one thing I can take away from this training? What's the one thing I can take away from this process? And we just get better 1% of the time. But yeah, community is huge. It's really, really, really big. And then I'd just say like, just some of the stuff that sounds like not fun, but necessary, like hiring. That was a struggle point for me. Like how many people would come in and tell you this false like who they are. And also the next day we talked a little bit about it. And then like also the next day you're like, this is not even close. Like the guy that came into the interview is not the guy that's here today. We have a process. Yeah. We have a process that is, I would say it's so good. I know other people that use this process as well besides us, but our hiring process now, I know exactly who I'm hiring. There's no more of this like pounding your chest. And also the next day you're like, whoa, so far from the truth. No, we can get the truth because of our process and little things like that. That's what helps us succeed, win, not have to struggle through the process or struggle through some of these struggles on your own, because we've already made the struggles. We've already made a lot of mistakes. So yes, does that mean you're not going to make mistakes? No, you're still going to make mistakes, but there's some big ones you'll never have to make because the process is so dialed in. Right. So I'd say anyone listening to this, if you're in that zone, it's like, you know what? I'm doing some deals. I feel like I'm doing it by myself. I don't know how to get to the next level. Cody and his team might be worth reaching out to. What's the best way for people to connect with you guys? Yeah, in fact, I'd love to do a giveaway for your group. It's if you went to thejoeway.com, on there we have our 5 steps to negotiation. So this is how we do all of our deals. So this is like I can't say proprietary anymore. It's out for your group. But what I'll tell you is this is our way. Like this wasn't found through Chris Voss, Grant Cardone, like this is our way. This is one of our secret sauce methods on how we lock up deals at as low as possible prices possible. It's because we follow these 5 steps each and every time. So if they go to thejoeway.com, they can get a free download, and they'll have also our training videos for each process. So it's like a step understanding what that step is, and then accompanying video that's the training that will show you step by step this process, so they can go and put together some contracts at a very low price. Perfect. So you said that's thejoeway.com? Thejoeway.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at what is it? It's joehomebuyerfranchising.com. That's a long one. I don't like that. I wish it was like something so much shorter than that. Or you can follow myself, Cody Hofhine, over at Instagram as well. All right, cool, guys. Hey, we'll put all that in the show notes too. So if you guys are driving or something, you can check it out later. Hey, Cody, last question. What is the number one book you'd recommend? Ooh, so well, for me right now, I'm really loving a dear friend and mentor of mine, Robin Sharma. So I kind of put his book on repeat. He has one called The 8 Forms of Wealth. And it is, The Wealth Money Can't Buy. He talks about the 8 forms of wealth.
the wealth money can't buy. And it's just these little bite-sized gold nuggets that just teach you how to become someone better each and every day. Also, to answer that, I would say find out, make awareness, because usually I'll have people ask me this all the time. And I'm like, I don't know, what is it that you need in life right now? And if they tell me then a topic at that point, and if I've read something in that topic, I'll give them like oh my gosh, for that topic, like, here's this book. You'll love this book. So I'd say do some work. This might be a little bit different answer. Do some work, find out what it is you want in life, and you are more than welcome to even like direct message me on Instagram. I'd be glad to refer. I read all the time. There's not a day that I miss on reading. Reading is huge in our life. My wife reads every single day as well. We love reading. So that might have been a curveball. I gave you a book, but then also if you ever need a good referral, let me know what it is you're wanting to learn, and I can refer you a great book in that topic. Guaranteed.
I love that. And I'm with you on reading too. It's like you can spend $10 and get somebody's entire knowledge from their life for like $10.
Yes. It's the greatest. It's the greatest cheat sheet in the world is reading. I mean, to think that new success is going to be found, it's still found upon these fantastic principles that we can read about in these books that we already have.
Yep. Well, hey, cool. Cody, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Brian, appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Until next time, get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys.